Have you ever wondered what really separates a peaceful life from a chaotic one? It is not how much money you have, and it is not how famous you become. It is how you treat yourself and the world around you every single day. Today we are going to talk about one of the simplest yet most profound foundations in Buddhism, the Five Precepts, 5 practices that the Buddha established, not to chain us down, but to protect us. The first thing to understand clearly is that these are not forceful commandments. The Buddha never threatened that if you fail to follow them, you will be punished. He established the 5 precepts because he wanted lay Buddhists to enjoy a better life. Whether you keep these precepts or not is entirely up to your own choice. This is one of the things that sets Buddhism apart from many other traditions. There is no fear involved, only a willingness that comes from understanding. Picture the 5 precepts as 5 protective fences, keeping us from falling onto the path of suffering. They do not limit your freedom. They help you stay away from the pits that you yourself, without care, might fall into. Someone who has taken refuge but does not practice the precepts is like someone who has climbed the first step of a staircase and then simply stopped there, never moving forward again. Many people, when they hear the word precepts, feel a sense of hesitation. They imagine restriction, dry rules they must follow reluctantly. But if you look closer, the 5 precepts are really more like the advice of a close friend, someone who genuinely cares about your long-term happiness, not a judge waiting to punish you the moment you slip up. That is the fundamental difference, and it is what makes the 5 precepts far more approachable and easier to practice than most people imagine. It also helps to remember that these 5 practices are not a modern invention layered on top of Buddhist philosophy. They sit at the very root of it, a kind of ethical foundation that every lay practitioner is invited to build their life upon. Long before people speak of meditation or mindfulness or deeper spiritual insight, the tradition asks that this foundation be laid first, because a mind still caught up in harmful actions rarely finds the stillness needed for anything deeper. So today, let us go through each one together, not to judge ourselves, but to understand why each one brings real peace. The first precept is to not take life. This does not only mean not taking a human life, it extends to every living being, from the largest animals to the smallest creatures. It is not only about avoiding direct harm. We should also never encourage or plan for someone else to harm any living being. When you see someone hurting another person or an animal, someone practicing this precept should feel compassion, rise up, and try to intervene. Why does this matter so much? Because every living being, big or small, wants to live and fears death, just like we do. Keeping the precept of not taking life is a way of nurturing the compassion inside you, a heart that simply cannot stand by and watch suffering happen. And practically speaking, when a person lives with that kind of compassion, their mind becomes lighter, their sleep becomes calmer, and they rarely feel the kind of unease or fear that follows people through daily life. Someone who keeps this precept often carries a gentle expression and a settled mind, because they carry no guilt or fear from having caused harm to others. The second precept is to not steal. This is not simply about not taking someone else's money or belongings. It also includes not taking anything that does not belong to you, whether that is personal property, shared property, or even subtler forms like deception, unjust acquisition, or using power to force something out of someone. Put simply, anything obtained in a dishonest way falls under this precept. The benefit of keeping this precept lies in the fairness it creates. When everyone respects each other's right to ownership, society becomes more stable and trustworthy. Think about how you feel when you lose something valuable. That pain and sense of loss is not small at all. If we do not want to experience that feeling ourselves, we should not cause it for someone else, And that is the most basic principle of fairness there is. Someone who practices this precept is often trusted and respected by others, and carries an inner peace that money simply cannot buy, because they never have to live in fear of being caught or punished. The third precept is to avoid sexual misconduct. This means not using manipulation to take advantage of someone else's affection or body in an inappropriate way, and never forcing anyone to satisfy your desires against their will. Even within marriage, the Buddha advised moderation and restraint so that the body stays healthy and the mind stays clear and light. Keeping this precept protects the happiness of your own family and the families of others. There is no resentment as fierce as the resentment born from betrayal in love. When people respect boundaries within relationships, families stay warm and close, and society avoids so much unnecessary suffering and hatred. This is one of the most important foundations for building a lasting family life and an ethical society. The fourth precept is to not lie. This is perhaps the precept we break most easily in daily life, because a small lie can come so naturally to avoid trouble, to please someone, or to protect ourselves. But not lying goes further than simply avoiding false statements. It also includes not speaking two-faced words that turn people against each other, not exaggerating or twisting a story, and not using harsh or vulgar language that causes fear or pain to the listener. There is a teaching that speaks deeply to this, that misfortune in a person's life often begins right at their own mouth, and so we must guard our speech even more carefully than we would guard against fire, because fire can only burn through this one lifetime, while harmful words can create consequences that last far longer. When we hold on to honesty in our speech, we build trust with others, and society can only function well when people still trust one another. Once trust is broken, everything, small or large, falls apart far too easily. Someone who keeps this precept tends to carry a calm mind, rarely worrying about being caught in a lie or having to remember what story they told to whom. The fifth precept is to avoid alcohol and intoxicating substances. At first, this might sound like the least important of the five, but it actually acts as a shield protecting the other four. When the mind is clouded by intoxication and loses control, a person can easily and unintentionally break the other precepts, causing harm to someone, taking what is not theirs, saying things that are not true, or acting in ways they would never choose while sober. This also includes staying away from other substances that cloud the clarity of the mind. People who avoid alcohol and intoxicants tend to enjoy better health, a clearer mind, and families that face far fewer unnecessary conflicts. This is an investment in your own wisdom and inner peace, something many people do not fully appreciate until they experience the stillness that a clear, sober mind brings. Now that we have gone through all 5 precepts together, there is something important to remember. No one expects you to be perfect from the very first day. If keeping all 5 at once feels difficult, you can start with whichever ones feel achievable to you right now, and gradually build on that over time. What matters is not instant perfection, it is sincere and consistent effort, day after day. The 5 precepts are not only for Buddhists. These are practical life lessons that anyone, regardless of their beliefs, can apply to live a more peaceful and progressive life. If you look closely, these 5 precepts are really 5 steps on a staircase, carrying you gradually closer to freedom from suffering, not in some distant future life, but right here, in your life today. Just imagine, if everyone in society fully practiced these 5 precepts, how different the world would look. There would be no more war or killing, no more theft or fraud, no more families broken apart by betrayal, no more lies causing pain between people, and no more tragedies caused by losing control of oneself. That is exactly why these seemingly simple teachings hold the power to build a peaceful life, not only for you, but for everyone around you as well. And this is not only true for people who identify as Buddhist. Even someone who follows no particular faith at all can hold on to just these 5 ideas: not harming others, not taking what isn't theirs, respecting boundaries in relationships, speaking honestly, and keeping a clear mind, and already be living a life far more grounded and peaceful than most. That is the quiet power of teachings that have survived for thousands of years. They remain useful precisely because they speak to something true about human nature itself, not to a particular culture or century. You probably will not change the whole world in a single day, but you can absolutely start with yourself, right now. Choose the one precept that feels easiest for you to practice, maybe paying closer attention to your words this coming week, or simply pausing for 1 second before doing something that might harm someone else. Real change always begins with small steps like these, repeated day after day, until it becomes a natural part of who you are. So, if you found something meaningful in this video, please check out the full Buddhism in English channel for more videos to help you find peace and wisdom through ancient teachings. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.